Okay, the meeting is now live. Member of council are present. We can begin the meeting.
Great, thank you, Don, and good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this committee of the whole meeting of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores. Welcome all members and welcome everybody who's joining us via the live stream this evening. We're glad that you're with us. The second item on the agenda is the land acknowledgement. We'll turn it over to Councillor Halpin for that.
Thank you. We acknowledge that we are meeting on the traditional lands and the treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which consists of the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash unceded First Nation. We understand this land holds immense significance to the people of Saugeen Ojibwe Nation. We appreciate those who live and work alongside us today, who continue the traditions of their ancestors, stewards of the land we are privileged to inhabit. We thank them for their contributions they have made in both caring for the land, shaping this community. We commit to truth and reconciliation, to acknowledging the truth about what happened to Indigenous peoples because of colonization, and to reconciliation, which begins with each of us and with each and every one of us. As a local government and public organization, we are dedicated to learning about Indigenous culture, to fostering a better relationship with the First Nations and their people, and we commit ourselves to actions that move us forward on a path to healing, along with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation.
Thank you, Councillor. That moves us on to disclosures of pecuniary interest. I'll ask any member if you have one of those to declare at this time. Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. We do have one addition, proposed addition to the agenda, and that is that item number 8.7.3, correspondence to Minister Clark, Bill 23 in the Ontario Land Tribunal process be added to the February 27th, 2023 Committee of the Whole agenda. Is there a mover and seconder to add that? The Deputy Mayor and Councillor Halpin. If there's no questions or comments to that, I'll ask all in favor. And any opposed? Okay, then that's carried. Thank you. We have no additional deletions or amendments to the agenda. I don't see any open forum requests this evening, so that moves on to delegations. And we do have one delegation this evening. It's from Ms. Lynn Tatey, and Ms. Tatey is in the chambers with us this evening. Once again, I'll just apologize to everybody who's watching via the live stream that won't be able to see Ms. Tatey, and that's an ongoing issue that we're working to address. Hopefully we'll be able to see delegates in the room before too long, but we'll turn it over to Ms. Tatey and just remind her that she's got 10 minutes. So over to you, Ms. Tatey. Oh, don't forget to turn your microphone on there. There you go.
Thank you. Today I'm here and I appreciate the time as members of council. The information I'm providing today, unfortunately, some of it where I'm not going to be able to cover it all, but I wanted to ensure that you had it in advance. Some of the information related to the provincial policy statement.
Would you just move the microphone a little closer to your face?
Sure.
The folks online will have trouble hearing you if you don't get it right up there.
Sure, no problem.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Is that better?
Just get it right up. Get it right up so you're just talking right into it there.
Okay. Okay.
You'll be all right there. All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So the public beach is on public land that under the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw is zoned open space zoning, environmental protection zoning. Most developers would not choose this site. Only one application to lease it came in, and they did not propose under the guidelines of the leasing document. The reason for the lack of application to lease it is in part due to the limits and the limits of the lease document, but mostly the multiple environmental constraints within or the adjacent land to the site. So when we're speaking about this situation of having access to public land, we talked 2 weeks ago, we talked about declaring land surplus, and the reasoning behind declaring land surplus is normally that it's of no use to the public any longer, and it has lost its value as a public piece of property for the town of Saugeen Shores or any other town. So when we're talking about the town of Saugeen Shores declaring land surplus, the situation has happened in the past where there's been land declared surplus that was a very much of value to the public, and some of that had to do with declaring land surplus and selling off access to the beach, which is what our group is most concerned about related to the access to the beach and to other parkland. So when I brought up this topic of related to accessibility and I tied in with bridges, I actually do believe that bridges are also our pathways, and it goes back to a pioneer time of our settlement, but the future was looked at when some of those access to beachfront and access to parkland was developed. It was there and it's been here all this time until 1998, when some of those access points were sold off. And there was quite a bit of an uproar at the time from residents that were blindsided by it. So it's something that's happened before, and the concern is that it's happening again. So with public land, and we're talking about land that is very much has to follow the same rules as if a private landowner owned it. So we have to remember that there's guidelines even in our own community of waterfront master plan of August 2013 that talks about providing public amenity areas, including parks, open space plazas, providing continuous public access to the water's edge where possible, maintaining important public view corridors. Now, I have written the council before about the importance of public view corridors. And anyone that wasn't on council at the time, that has to do with across the world, you know what a public view corridor is, and the importance of it. The Eiffel Tower might be an example, or there's many geographic. So a beach like Port Elgin Beach has a very high importance of public view corridor. So you often hear of people talking about arriving at Port Elgin Beach and they just can't wait to get over that hill. It's an over and over again repeated topic of people like, there they are, they get over the hill and there they are and they can see the whole beach. That is something to be maintained. That is something to be valued. That's something not to be forgotten about. So there's some concern about the process of some professional designations are required to produce some of the documents. And I'll just give an example of fish and wildlife studies or storm management reports on public land, whether they're public or private, they're still required. And there's provincial policy statements that cover much of this. There's also the problem that the heritage, Bruce County just started doing their, I don't want to name it wrong, but it's the initials. I'm terrible at giving point form, but here we go. So the delegation, our delegation's issue relate to the fact that the proponent has not submitted a site plan application that would naturally trigger multi-EIS assessments, stormwater management plans, and more. If the town staff are not qualified professionals, they cannot waive the EIS assessment. The NHRM will provide guidelines that identify intended users and purpose and scope and the intended audience. The following was copied from the NHRM and the purpose and scope. The second edition of the Natural Heritage Reference Manual provides technical guidance for implementing the natural heritage policies of the provincial statement, which was an attached document to the material that I provided. The manual represents the province's recommended technical criteria and approaches for being consistent with the PPS in protected natural heritage features and the area of natural heritage systems in Ontario. While the manual provides information and approaches to assist in implementing PPS policies, it does not add to or detract from the policy. Add additional ways to achieve the desired outcome required by the PPS must exist, but it approaches others that recommend in the manual are used. The onus is on the proponent of those approaches to just demonstrate that they are consistent with the PPS. The recommendations in the manual are triggered only when there is a requirement to be consistent with the PPS and provide a subsequent in the subsequent subsections 3, 5, and 3.6 of the Planning Act. Further consideration must be given to the PBS definition for development and site alteration. So when you're talking about site alteration, we're talking about the amount of fill that would be required to build the proposed CCV. It has to do with an enormous amount of fill, and when you start doing that kind of fill and you start raising a building to that height, you're actually changing the natural heritage of the area, and it has to do with you can't look at things like a natural beach in an area where you have you have a sand beach and ignore the fact that this is going to change the whole view. It's going to change the whole use of the beach, and it's going to make such a difference in what is sort of the heritage of the area uses of it. Now, we can't confuse the past buildings on the land that was there. We cannot confuse that. In fact, if the station had been left as it was and renovated or done something with, you might have been able to get away with it where it remained. It might have been able to leave it there. But when it was taken out, I figured, there goes the problem. There's no more of this. There's no more of this nonsense of building such a thing on the beach, because it wouldn't be possible because of all the reasons that we all know that have to do with storm drainage and elevation of the building, and all the things that you have to think about when you think about an inventory of building something like this on the beach. The diversion of the storm water, the diversion of the natural way that people actually enter the beach and view the beach. So there's enough information really that I have to say that I did not think this was actually going to take place. And in 2020, when the lease was signed, I've spoken to this before about the website, but the website design did not allow myself or others that live in rural Saugeen Shores to actually access this information. So I just figured I missed it. It's already been declared surplus, and end of fight, it's declared surplus and this lease is signed. So when you look back in history on what's happened and why there is this setup, so that you have to declare land surplus if you're going to lease something beyond 20 years and 11 months and how many days. The reason is to protect ourselves from ourselves, to protect ourselves from short-sighted and self-directed interests that are not really for the best of the community. So when we talk about the examples of sold off right at the beginning of amalgamation, and I have spoken to Dawn, the clerk, who's reassured me that she's going to find out where these documents went, but there was access since last fall, to documents where you could pull up and find out that this land wasn't declared surplus back in 2020 or early 2021. And that in fact, there was some kind of a creation of some kind of lease, surplus land lease to kind of housekeeping it document that was prepared as a staff report. This is not the purpose of declaring land surplus. This is not the purpose of declaring land surplus has to do with a piece of property that's not valued by the town. When we're looking at this kind of information, public access to public beaches and open space near Lake Huron, we must maintain the open and the value of real life usable and visual public access. And there's no real value, like it's priceless. I've given examples of the past meeting about beach access lanes and points declared surplus and sold off in early amalgamation, which was prior to the current beach access inventory list, and it was updated in 2021. The open space and the natural heritage features of the beachfront is invaluable. It's highly desirable, and the promise and the plan of public access was always there since the very early days of surveying this settlement. The beach access points inventory report of 2021 still includes many of the encroachments such as fences, small buildings, blocking off access by vegetation or rubble, which the previous inventory had. This was and is my point. To provide unobstructed access to unobstructed view, Saugeen Council, please use the provincial protection that are already in place to protect you and us from casual areas of judgment in times of change. The town or the leasee of the beach or the CCV group of the beachfront open space is required to follow the same list of necessary studies and specialist report which a private citizen would were it owned by a private citizen and were they to own the land in question.
So we have passed over 10 minutes there,
Yep.
Lynn, so if we can get you to
Yep.
wrap it up, please.
Yes, I just would like to thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to this, and I look forward to the fact that you will consider that some of the access to the beach is something that we want to maintain and that we do not want to break rules in it. I appreciate the time that you've given me tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Are there questions or comments from members? The Vice Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for your presentation, Lynn. And there's just one comment I wanted to make, Lynn, about your presentation. I think it's a point well taken, is that, you know, those 55 beach access points, it's long been a bit of a bone of contention with me. There are certainly some beach access points that have been grown in with vegetation, and that have not been reopened many years ago, but they've actually become closed because of encroachments with sheds and vegetation and so on and so forth. So I agree with you. I think that's the point well taken. And I believe, I know Schreids is on the call here, but I spoke to Frank Burrows about this probably a year or two ago now. And I know staff are working on that one at a time, taking a look at those beach access points. And, there's surveys involved and there's a lot of other things involved with making it right, so to speak. But I concur, Lynn. Those beach access points need to remain as beach access points, and the vegetation, the overgrowth, and the encroachments, one by one, we do need to address that. And so that's just a comment I wanted to make, Mr. Mayor. I think staff are working on that.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Are there further comments from members? We'll take Councillor Mann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, Lynn, thanks for the presentation. Lynn, a couple times through your presentation, you mentioned that you're representing a group here. It wasn't clear in the materials applied what the name of that group is that you're.
It's not an official group. There's a group of people that are quite concerned about the cutting off of the access to the beach. And the CCV is part of that, and the heritage designation that is the province is expecting Bruce County and Saugeen Shores to complete. And those things are still to be taken into consideration when making any kinds of changes to any kind of use of open space.
Okay, so you're not affiliated with any particular organized group. It's you and a group of like-minded citizens.
That's correct. And there's people that aren't joiners to things. So to actually speak of like certain people that are part of a group, there's been a large group in Saugeen Shores that has very much voiced their concerns that are very valid, and some of them have not even received replies from staff related to questions that they've brought forward. I know myself even bringing forward about the fact that there was no declaring of the land surplus at the time of signing a lease for 50 years. When I discovered that it hadn't been done, I was shocked actually, because it was breaking a bylaw. So therefore the lease was invalid. So to make some kind of a staff report and place it as a housekeeping condition is really unacceptable. But it still went through, just like in 1998 and early 1999, where land was declared surplus and sold off in one quick breath of 3 readings and done. So we have to be very cautious of this, is that this kind of behavior is something that we don't want to have continuing, and we want to be aware that, and going back to what Mike has brought up about the access to the beach, this is the prime access to the Port Elgin Beach that we're talking about. We're talking about this location that is in front of the harbor, in front of the beach, that goes between the 2 streets that access the beach, and we're talking prime public access that is going to have a visual block. It's going to block off a certain amount of the access, and it's also going to change the heritage situation of how the property even looks and how it even feels. So you have to consider those things, and it's very much, everyone's aware of that these things are important, and even part of our beaches waterfront plan includes it. There's so many documents that back it up. I've only included some of what it backs up, and I apologize, I knew I could not cover the whole document, but it is lengthy, but there are some key points that I have brought forward, and there are some that I will follow up with some letters as well following tonight's presentation.
Okay, thank you. Are there further questions or comments from members for Ms. Tate? I don't see any, so thank you very much for coming in again this evening, Ms. Tate. We really appreciate you taking the time to be here this evening and raising your concerns. Thank you.
And thank you very much.
So we're now going to move on then to reports of municipal officers and committees, and 8.2, which is a general government report, a staff report on the final budget report of 2023. And we'll turn it over to the Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report is a culmination of all the work from Council, our CAO, and all of the departments into the 2022 business plan. Work began last summer on soliciting input from Council. Departments then began working through the fall to prepare the business plan. The draft plan was presented on January 30th and February 7th to Council for consideration and to obtain direction for staff. That staff direction has been incorporated into the business plan and the budget that is before you today. The 2023 levy of $20,989,000 results in a tax rate of 6%, or a blended rate of approximately 5.9%. This translates into a $123 increase on the town portion of taxes on an average home that would be assessed at $314,000. This was achieved by increasing the use of reserves that was proposed in the draft budget from $355,000 to $445,000. Additionally, changes that were directed by Council include an adjustment to the CVCA budget to the final budget value from them. We had an addition for volunteer appreciation of $5,000, an increase to the budget for heritage plaques of almost $1,300, and an increase in the town tree purchase program of $3,000. And lastly, there was an amount additional from the reserve from the police service board for a consultant of $25,000. The levy of $21 million combined with other revenue budgeted at $21.4 million, net of expenses of $32.4 million, provides a net income of just over $10 million. This, combined with the $15.3 million invested in capital, will result in reserves reducing from $50.8 million at the beginning of this year to $45.5 million by the end of the year. In addition to the $15.3 million of reserves to fund capital, there's $13.5 million of debt and $4 million of capital that will be fully funding the $32.8 million capital budget. The presentations from January 30th and February 6th, adjusted for the changes directed by Council, are compiled in a beautifully presented 2023 business plan. A special thanks goes out to Jill Root for all her work in preparing the document. It's an excellent resource for residents to to review for them to gain an understanding of what their government is striving for. In conclusion, before you today are 4 recommendations. A recommendation to set the 2023 municipal budget, which includes operating expenses of 32.4 million and capital expenses of 32.8 million. A recommendation to set the levy at $20,989,461. A recommendation to set the BIA levies at $33,000 for Port Elgin and $29,350 for Southampton. And lastly, that the tax levy bylaw be brought to council for approval on March the 13th. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So there's a recommendation there. I'm going to put off reading it until we've had any discussion that we may have in case there are any alterations between now and after that discussion. So I'll ask if there's questions or comments from members. The Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. It's a big vote. I just want to get some clarification on a couple of items and reserve the right to ask a question later after other people have had a chance to talk. There's a note associated with the tourist camp related to an expenditure. I believe it's associated with a washroom upgrade. There's a reference there that it's funded through the future capital reserve, and it says also carry forward. I just want to make sure that when I read that, that I'm understanding that it's still related to a self-contained tourist camp budget, that the future capital reserve part is not, that's not taxpayer related funding going into an expense at the trailer camp. So that's my first question, just to understand clearly where the funding comes for tourist camp capital expenditures.
So the Director of Community Services and Operations.
Thank you for the question. I'm able to provide clarification. So in 2022, council approved a washroom renovation project for $50,000. And upon site review and project planning is we deemed it necessary to add an additional $30,000 to that project. So the funding for that project is $50,000 from carry forward from 2022 funds, and then new request of funds for $30,000 in the 2023 budget. And that would be funded through the future capital reserve.
Deputy Mayor.
But future capital reserve money is taxpayer money. And is it not true that the trailer park budget should be related to its own funding? I just want to make sure that it's understood that taxpayer money is not really involved with all this.
We'll turn that one over to the Director of Corporate Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We are taking that away and coming back with a reserve policy later this year, in which we will be taking that advice and incorporating it into a revised policy, and that'll then be addressed in future budgets.
Thank you. I also want to just receive clarification. There's $120,000 related to the procurement of a new waterfront design for a section of the Port Elgin Main Beach. It says it's being funded by, I believe it's called, it says Waterfront Capital, I think. I just want to be clear that that reserve fund is funded completely by lease payments associated with the CCV project. Is that correct?
Director of Corporate Services.
I believe that is correct, but I would have to just verify and confirm.
Okay, thank you. And my third question right now, there's reference in the budget to an amount of money associated with some work related to surplus lands. As far as I can tell, yes, there was a short list of some publicly owned lands that were deemed to be worthy of further exploration, but I haven't determined that there was ever a council decision to specifically declare properties surplus. So in including this in the budget, we are just having a little more money in there to do some more work on this. We're not agreeing to sell specific parcels of land with this budget, are we?
The Director of Development Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's correct. The commitment here is to budget activities associated with preparing those lands for a decision by council about whether to declare them surplus, involving things like surveys, legal work, archaeology work. The decision to declare them surplus will be made at a future point.
Thank you very much.
Okay, further comments or questions from members? I don't see any. There is one issue that we held over from the last discussion on the budget relating to the entrance to North Shore Park and the capital project there. There was a discussion at council at that time and a vote on a resolution that the North Shore Park project be excluded from the 2023 budget. It was a close vote, and Councillor Halpin had difficulty with his internet connection at that time. So we discussed it at the time and felt that it would be most appropriate to revisit that discussion today to make sure that we got council's actual will on this and not make sure we have it right. So so what I'm going to do, this has to be done by a motion to reconsider, and the motion to reconsider has to be introduced by a member who voted on the side that won the vote originally, and it also has to pass by a 2/3 majority. I'm the only one in the room who voted on the side that won today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the chair to the deputy mayor, and I'm going to introduce a resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just for clarification, it's the North Harbor parking lot we're talking about, not North Shore Park. So
That's fine. What I have right in front of me is the North Shore Park project excluded, but that's could be we're on the same page. We know what we're talking about, the entrance to the harbor parking lot. So through you, Madam Chair,
thank you.
if I can introduce a resolution, the council reconsidered the decision to include the North Harbor parking lot project in the 2023 budget.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Halpin. And now we'll open it up for discussion, and I can give the chair back to you, correct?
We'll take the vote. You take the vote. And then
Oh, do we?
yeah, and it can be discussed, but we'll
I-
have a discussion, then you get
Well,
us through the vote.
is there any discussion? I have some points to discuss. Yes. Oh, this is just a vote on the motion. Gotcha. There's too many of you nodding your heads over there at me. Okay, so we have a motion to reconsider the item related to the North Harbor parking lot inclusion in the budget. All in favor? It's carried. Is there any discussion?
I guess I'll take the chair back. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll, that has been carried. I'll leave that to the deputy mayor to sign. So we now will reconsider the main motion. The main motion is that the North Harbor parking lot project be excluded from the 2023 budget. Is there a mover and seconder for that resolution, first and foremost? Moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by Councillor Mayette. Discussion, the deputy mayor.
Thank you, and I very much appreciate the chance for this to come back. In the information we've received, this item, it's $550,000, so $500,000. It's included in various places as part of the harbor budget. So it's not clear how it's being funded in terms of whether it's in the self-contained harbor budget or it's otherwise. It was presented to us as being a good idea related to safety and related to the reimagining of North Shore Park, which and it was mentioned about a train proposal, a private business proposal. I just question the validity of $500,000 for a parking lot upgrade and a movement of an entrance point when we have, I took a good look, and when we have so many other projects, I took a good look at the asset management plan that was prepared the last time in 2020. And, you know, we have, when you look through that, you can see that there's quite a few areas of our assets, particularly roads where, I just looked at current conditions in 2020 with roads. We had, it was deemed at that time an estimate of about $750,000 was needed for roads that were in poor condition, $4.7 million for very poor condition. Bridges, we had a number of bridges that were, or a bridge, I believe, that was in the very poor condition, and it was estimated at $5.1 million to replace that. There's a lot of items in the budget or in the asset management plan that are there in poor condition. It seems to me that we should be taking a good look at that. I went through very carefully too, just to discover if in thinking that the roads situation is pretty rough here. I went through the budget, and in one of the documents, it says that, a highlight is a number of roads projects. I could only find a couple. And so here's the ones that I found. Lewis Street from Goderich to Wellington. It was a road rebuild there. There were 3 streets that would have some work on them. It was connected to some other needs that were associated with the West Links development. It was Lennon, Mill, and Eastwood. And that was it for road work that I could find in the budget. There was some ongoing stuff related to the McNabb Railway Street roundabout that was funded, I believe, last year. There was an item related to the Ivings Goderich Street intersection, but there was a cost sharing involved with that. And there was some funding related to an investigation related to the Saugeen River Bridge deck. And, I took a good look at that. That bridge was built in 1958. It was deemed the average useful life for bridges is 65 years. So we're pretty much right at that mark. But in terms of actual road work, it didn't seem like we were doing a very good job at chipping away at the massive number of roads that were in need of some attention. So I just think that spending $500,000 on a parking lot, which is used three seasons of the year, and then it becomes boat parking, and moving an entrance. And it was told to us that there was a safety issue, but there are safety issues in a number of locations around the town. It just seems to me that this is not the time to be allocating $500,000 towards a parking lot when there seems to be 2 plans coming for areas immediately north and immediately south of that. And maybe we should wait for those plans to then decide how to spend an incredible amount of money for parking in between them. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I got Councillor Mayette next, and I got Councillor Halpin.
Next, okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too had reservations with regards to the project around the North Harbor parking lot reconfiguration. Mainly being that it seems like we're spending that money in preparation for the addition of the proposed train station confectionery business that a private individual was proposing for that area. It seems like this is the first step to relocate the road to make room for that business. And I don't think we should be spending private dollars on that. And the second issue being, there's been quite a bit of change in North Shore Park over the past couple of years. There's been some significant storms. The landscape and the look of the park has changed significantly. And I think a re-envisioning of the entire area needs to be done in order to make sure that whatever we do there fits in with the larger master plan, as was indicated by the deputy mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. And first of all, I want to express my gratitude to council for rehabbing this vote, because I was the cause of it when my internet froze up. So I do appreciate that. And thank you. I am not opposed to doing the work at the North Shore parking lot. I'm not opposed to doing it. I'm just not in favor of doing it this year. You're talking, as we said, about reimagining what's going to happen around the CCV and what the parking lot is going to be there. We're talking about reimagining North Shore Park. And it would only make sense that you would do all that reimagining before you build the parking lot that's going to be in between the two. A couple of simple things to consider if you wanted to use the same sort of motif, if I could use that word. for your parking or throughout the park. Well, you know, it'd be good to just build it all at once. So I am in favor of that. I'm just not in favor of doing it this year. I don't think we need to look at that whole picture and then decide what to do. The other thing is I get nervous when we start talking about saying, well, we're putting this train in, because I don't think that's really all been presented and everything yet. Like we shouldn't get we should wait. We should go through due process. That is a concern of mine. So to recap really quickly, I'm in favor of doing the work, just not this year. Thank you.
And I just want to be very clear on that last point about the train. There's absolutely no decision been made by council on that. That if anything is going to proceed on that, it will come to this table and decision will be made here. So no one should get the impression the decision's been made on that whatsoever. Are there other comments or questions from members? I might to just make a comment. I certainly understand what the members are saying. And I think that certainly would not want to proceed with anything there before you had a plan for the overall park. And we do need to create that plan. We get the report back on this train business, whether we want to do that. Whatever we do, we need to do something. Like everyone in the community would agree that North Shore Park is in a sad state at this moment, a very sad state. And it's a very important park for a big part of the community, and it needs us to invest in it. I think that the project dollars are in the budget at the moment targeted at the reorientation of the parking lot and the reorientation of the entrance and the parking lot. I really believe we should have some money in the 2023 budget targeted at North Shore Park. And well, I don't know, is there additional dollars on the park? Like, is there a line item over and above what we have here to invest in the park itself, the director?
Thank you for the question and through you. So we have $25,000 requested in the 2023 budget for a landscape architect to assess us with that overall vision of the plan. And we also have some carry forward funds from 2022 for the original devastation cleanup.
Yeah, and I understand. I guess what I'm saying is capital dollars. There are no capital dollars in the 2023 budget for North Shore Park. And I think there ought to be, because I think we ought to get to move. If we have no dollars in this budget, then we delay any work on restoring the park until late in 2024, right? And I'm just not, I think, so I stipulate that the points that the members have raised about concern about going ahead with a road realignment this year, or approving this dollars specifically for that. I sure would like to see the dollars move forward, or at least some dollars move forward in the budget for capital dollars for the restoration of North Shore Park. Looks like we have some dollars to do some design work, but we should have some dollars for capital, whether it's $550,000 or whatever it is. I mean, I think you could leave the funding in there targeted at the park. For now, you don't have to spend $550,000, but it leaves you a window to decide what you want to do and what you might need to spend. And if it doesn't get spent in 23, it carries over into 24. It's not levy dollars. So and all the decisions will come back to council to decide what you're going to build and how much of that money you're going to spend. But if we have nothing in the budget, then we have no capital dollars and we can't advance anything this year. And I think the community would really like us to advance as quickly as possible. The deputy mayor disagrees with the deputy mayor.
It was presented to us as North Harbor parking lot relocation. And so it had nothing specifically to do with any installation work or capital work with North Shore Park itself. I'm curious to understand what you meant by there's no levy dollars here. Where's this funding coming from? Is it
From the reserves? There's no doubt, it doesn't impact the 2023 levy. Tax levy.
but if it wasn't there, it would reduce. Well, we're taking, what we received tonight was a report showing that almost $500,000 more was coming out of reserves to keep the tax rate at where it was. So if we didn't have to take that out of reserves, it would be a good thing. I just, it's very specific, Mr. Mayor, that it was related to the parking lot. So, I understand what you're saying about North Shore Park. And I would like to think that this reimagining design plan, will lead to something in the future, but that's not what we had in the budget yet.
No, and I agree, Deputy Mayor, that it was targeted at the parking lot and entrance, although I do think that that it is of a piece to an extent because the realignment of the park of the entrance affects the park and affects the overall design of the park. So I think it's not a stretch to move this to for council to direct that these dollars be directed to the park in general and not just at the realignment of the parking lot, although the realignment of the parking lot could be part of the project. Ultimately, this is these dollars are funded from the reserve, the reserve transfer that takes place as part of the budget in order to lower the levy is offsetting operating and not capital. So this is so by removing this project, we do not lower the levy. It was always funded from reserves and not from the tax levy. That's just, I mean, that's not necessarily important to the discussion, but just a point to raise. All I'm saying is, speaking for myself, I would like to see capital dollars remain in the budget, targeted in North Shore Park, dollars that could be spent on the entrance or could be spent elsewhere in the park, because I'd like to see that, be able to see that capital work move forward in 23 if we come up with a plan that's agreeable to council and to the public. So I don't support removing the dollars. What I would like to see is the dollars stay in and to see staff come back with a plan for how we can use those dollars across North Shore Park. I think I saw Councillor Halpin put his hand up. Councillor Halpin.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. I could support that idea. Thank you.
Okay, are there further comments? I don't see any. So we do have a resolution. It's been moved and seconded, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Mayette, that the North Harbor parking lot project be excluded from the 2023 budget. So I'll ask all in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, all opposed. 2, 3, 4, 5, that's defeated. Okay, so we're back to the main question then, or I guess also I'll go back. Are there any further questions on other items related to the 2023 budget? I don't see any, so I'm going to read the resolution. And of course, if there's anything after that, you can ask questions. It's recommended that council approve the municipal budget for the year 2023 as follows. Expenses for operating $32,359,996, for capital $32,825,150, for total 2023 expenses of $65,185,146. Net reserve contributions other operating $10,027,049. Capital negative $15,349,179, for a total 2023 reserve contributions of negative $5,322,130. Revenues and other funding under operating $21,397,584, under capital $17,475,971, for a total 2023 revenues and other funding budget of $38,873,555. And for a total municipal taxation under operating of $20,989,461, under capital $0, for total 2023 budget of $20,989,461. That the town of Saugeen Shores tax levy for 2023 be set at $20,989,461, and that the BIA levies for 2023 be set at $33,000 for the Port Elgin BIA and $29,350 for the Southampton BIA, and that council passed the tax levy bylaw establishing the 2023 tax rates at the March 13th, 2023 council meeting. Further discussion? If not, all in favor? And opposed? That's carried. Okay, so that moves us off the budget. All right, so now we're on to 8.5 protective services, and we have a staff report on the 2022 annual fire services report, and we'll turn it over to the fire chief.
Thank you, Your Worship. what I prepared for council is a snapshot, sort of the past, the present, and the future of fire services. I'm not legislated to produce this report, not like the emergency management report that I must put in front of council every year. But I do believe that this is important for council to understand the efforts that occur and are participated in by fire services, and specifically the admin staff and the volunteers that contribute to this. I tried to give you a snapshot of the reporting that we have to do to the province through the standard incident reporting. Certainly, if you looked at the number of categories that we would report on, the list would look much longer than this. I've collapsed some of the calls, like alarm activations, into 1 or 2 areas versus all of the numbers, just to give you an idea of the type of calls we go to. Another indicator that you might be aware of or not aware of is you can see year over year, other than one COVID year, that we have an increase of call volume that is only going to increase as our municipality grows. So this report speaks to a lot of different things. It speaks to the 3 pillars that of fire prevention that the Ontario Fire Marshal would like us to participate in. That is public education, fire prevention, and suppression. And so I spoke to those items. I spoke to the SIR data that we must report to the fire marshal. I spoke a little bit about shoot times, et cetera, and I talked to the deputy mayor about what the heck is a shoot time, so that, and a little too technical, and for that I apologize. Shoot time is the time from which their pagers go off until the trucks roll off the pad. So our shoot time for those calls that you saw in 2022, where I'm bringing alarm activations, carbon monoxide calls, medicals, motor vehicles, and fires, is 6.4%, or 6.4 minutes, my apologies. So a remarkable time. Now, if you took our total shoot time for other calls that are not emergency, et cetera, and roll up, it's just over 9 minutes. But the calls that matter, and they all matter specifically, but the calls that really matter, we have a remarkable shoot time. So when I'm talking about a reduction in, we had $1.5 million in loss when it came to structure fires, but we were able to save just over $1 million in property and contents by having such amazing volunteers and their ability to respond, get the trucks off the pad, and get to the calls. So that's what that means. I tried to show a little bit about what we've done in the last 6 months. We've changed communications and the methodology we do that. We've tried to unravel a little bit of spaghetti and put together a plan for this year when it comes to policy development, or operational guideline development, and implementing the lean teachings that we are doing as an administration, and bringing that to the fire department so that we can look at items on how we can be fiscally responsible while still meeting all the requirements legislatively that the province puts upon us, and the service levels that council bestows upon us. You will see several reports from fire services, including one next month, which will be the regulatory bylaw, where we look at service levels and make recommendations. We'll also look at medical tiered agreement and where I think that's going, and recommendations to council based on that. And then some bylaw looks that haven't been looked at a while, including fireworks and open fires. Other than that, that is the report. There is a lot of information there. I've had a lot of questions about it today, so I appreciate it immensely. And I'll take any questions from council if they so desire.
Sure. Well, there's a recommendation that council receive this 2022 annual fire services report for information, and we will take questions or comments. The deputy mayor.
Thank you. I'd just like to ask the chief to turn on his camera so that everyone can see him. Thank you.
Thanks for that. I didn't even notice his camera. I was looking right in his eyes. I didn't notice his camera wasn't on.
I was looking at the mayor too.
Okay, that got a little weird, but anyway, are there questions or comments from members? Sorry. Oh, sorry, guys. You're on Councillor Grace and then Councillor Stack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much, Chief, for that excellent report. I have a question about the firefighters and their training. There's really an extensive amount of training that they have to do. Are they reimbursed for that training?
Thank you for the question through you, your worship, to Councillor Grace. Yes, they are reimbursed at an hourly rate for the training that they receive.
Thank you.
Councillor Stack.
Thank you. One quick comment and then a question. So from a comment, I just thought it was great to see some focus on wellness and in particular the PTSD and mandatory mental resiliency training. I think that particularly given the roles these folks are performing and some of the experiences they'll go through, I think it's really good to see that focus. So great work on that. And then I just had a question about the water rescues. I'm just for curiosity, are we talking about rescues near shore or as a result of boating? Do you have any information on that?
Yes, there's to you, Councillor, through your worship. There's 4 types of water rescue that we can participate in when it comes to NFPA 1006, which is the standard the professional standard that we have to follow when it comes to water rescue. One is flat water rescue, one is shore-based rescue, one is fast water rescue, and one is boat rescue. So the regulatory bylaw that's presently in place say that we can do shore-based rescue. But the history of the department is they've been doing much other or different types of rescue. My recommendation to council, based on a risk assessment done, the report that I supplied that shows you that we do significant amount of water rescues, is that we're probably going to recommend that all types of those water rescues are done and that we are trained to those levels.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there further? I got Councillor Dubinsky. You're on mute there, Councillor. Oh, he knows it. There he is. Councillor Dubinsky.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, through you to our fire chief. Chief, you said this was a report that you didn't have to do. You weren't legislated to do it. You felt the necessity to do it. Having done so, are there a couple of red flags that stand out in your mind and you're happy that you've done this report that should be addressed down the road?
Because that's a very good question, Councillor, and I tried not to make any statement out of this report. There are things that I have in the budget that if passed by council, well, it has been passed, but when the bylaw is passed, I certainly will be coming forward with those, but I did not include those in the budget. For example, the public education volunteers are part of an initiative we want to do, but when I wrote the report, budget had not been passed. So I tried not to make any judgment or raise any red flags. Those are sort of in the budget on things that we need to do to take care of health and wellness, training, public education. I didn't put them in the report.
Chief, it's a great report. Thank you very much for doing it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there further comments from any members or questions? I don't see any, so I guess it's echo what Councillor Dubinsky said. Thank you for this report. I recognize that it isn't a legislative requirement, but it's a great thing for this council and the community to receive. I'd note too, it's very interesting to see that list of incident types and the percentage they represent. Our fire department only 3% of its work was responding to fires, right? The 22%, the single biggest thing that our fire department does is respond to medical situations in our community. And I think, you know, the public probably isn't aware of what kind of work our firefighters, our volunteers are doing. You know, so it's a great report just to be able to see, you know, the incredible list of things that the volunteers are doing and how their work is divided up. And I think it gives us some information about perhaps ways that we can work to reduce that work. I mean, what we want is our volunteers to have to work as little as possible. They have lives, they have jobs. I know they enjoy being firefighters, but we'd really rather them living their lives and doing their jobs than responding to emergencies in our community. And so there's things we could work on. That medical thing really stands out to me because, you know, we have a whole EMS with Bruce County EMS. We're going to get a new station here in Port Elgin. It's great that our volunteers are backing them up, but I feel like there's work that could be done there to reduce the burden on our volunteers and get our full-time professional EMS department to perhaps doing more of that work. And that means, and that's not a slag on them, I think we need to resource them better to be able to do that work at the county level, which is work that we're doing as is evidenced down the street from here. And so I'm keen to see those numbers change and see our volunteer firefighters, you know, their time used as effectively as possible. And I know they always stand ready and they're always eager to serve, and we want to make sure we're serving them as well as we can as well. So anyway, thank you for this report and for the information.
Thank you, Your Worship.
So if there's nothing further, there is a recommendation to receive this for information. So I'll ask all in favor. It's carried. Okay. So we're on now. Sorry, to communications and petitions for information. 3 items there. Questions or comments from members on any one of those? The Vice Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Maya.
Mayor, I just, give me 1 sec. I just want to make sure that I'm under the right agenda here. Yeah. The Bruce Area Solid Waste Recycling Association, Mr. Mayor, I attended a couple meetings now, and I took over for Councillor Davinsky, who did a great job in that committee, and I'm learning lots. I've had a tour of the plant, and and you know about this, Mr. Mayor, I think most of the council are aware, but the Blue Box program is currently 50% funded, Stewardship Ontario, and that is going to 100% funding by 2025, December 31st. And so I just think this council needs to be aware of that, because, you know, we really don't know. We had a long discussion with Bosler about this, but in terms of contamination and sorting and fleet, and you know, it's going to be an interesting transition, to say the least. So I'm only bringing that forward to let you know to stay tuned about our Blue Box program is a successful program. Cardboard, there was no use for cardboard in 2022. It's there's just no money there, and we'd give the cardboard away. And but just stay tuned, because that's a big change, you know, going to 100% funded via Stewardship Ontario. It's a big change, so you all need to be aware of that, and let's hope it just doesn't end up costing us more. We'll see, but I just want to alert you to the fact that that's in the works. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, 2 items. The one is the resolution from Aaron Eldersley municipality regarding the tile drainage loan program. I think this is an important item, especially for the agricultural industry, of which we have a significant portion of in Saugeen Shores. This program it increases the yields of farmlands, and as we have an increasing demand for food and an increasing population worldwide, we need to maximize the amount of food we can produce per acre, and this program definitely has a direct impact on that. So I applaud them for this motion. And the second is the correspondence from the warden to Minister Clark, the Minister of Housing, the Minister of, Municipal Affairs and Housing, regarding the frustration that one of our residents, Mr. Tim Thorne, has experienced down at Denny's Dam. He's been trying very hard to get his business off the ground. He has invested a very significant amount of money in restoring this historic building and that he could run an inn and bed and breakfast at the facility. It was run through council last year. It was approved, I believe unanimously. It's a great idea. It's a great heritage location. And due to an appeal and subsequent red tape and delays as is outlined in this letter, it's really a shame. And I hope that this gets the attention that it needs. I myself have brought this matter forward in conversation with Minister Thompson. And I've had a few conversations with Mr. Thorne, and he is very frustrated. And it's the timing with Bill 23 and the proposed amendments that didn't take place have just added to this problem. And I feel really strongly that that Mr. Thorne has been not treated very well. And it's unfortunate that one individual can file an appeal and cause, in this case, greater than a year of delay. And this delay is causing his investment to dwindle and a loss of income. And it's just a shame. So I just I applaud the warden and seconded by yourself on this letter. And I hope that it gets the attention that it duly deserves. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there further comments on any of the items of correspondence? I'll just echo the what Councillor Mayette wrote, and the warden and I felt the same as you do on that particular issue. And it's a travesty, frankly, what it's the OLT's inefficiency and its inability to actually hear the case, pre-trial after pre-trial after pre-trial, or pre-hearing, I should say, after pre-hearing, without getting to a hearing. It really is a travesty, and the province needs to, I think, if they're serious about getting housing built in the province of Ontario, they need to reform the OLT. If this is how it's going to be, it's destroying a local business, a good one that everybody likes, and it's destroying it. So, so I do hope that I agree with you. I hope that the province pays attention to the broader problem with the OLT and to this specific issue. It's really tragic what's happening to the Thorns as a result of that. On the question of the letter from the municipality of Aaron Ellerslie, I don't know, Councillor, would you like council to consider supporting Aaron Ellerslie's resolution? If so, you could make that motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I would absolutely, and I would make that motion that the Council of Saugeen Shores sends a letter supporting the motion as written by the municipality of Aaron Ellerslie.
There's a seconder for that, a second by the deputy mayor. Can I suggest a friendly amendment that letter be circulated to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Honorable Lisa M. Thompson, Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, Rick Byers, MPP for Great Rousseau and Sound, and the Rural Ontario Municipal Association.
I would accept that friendly amendment.
And seconder's all right with that, Deputy Mayor? Okay, so are you, the clerk, got that together? I know that's quick. Okay, all right. Everybody understand the resolution? Any discussion to that resolution? Seeing none, then all in favor? That's carried. Okay. Not anything else on the communications? If not, we'll move on then. That actually brings us to the end of the committee of the whole meeting. So we'll take statements by members and the deputy mayor.
Thank you. Going first, it took me by surprise. That was so fast. I, along with a lot of other people in town, participated in the coldest night of the year walk at that left from Coulter Parkette. The mayor was there, Councillor Mayette was there, Councillor Halpin, saw him as a marshal on the route too, and it was a very well organized event and very well attended, and it was great to see so many kids involved with that, and I will just let it move along. Thank you.
Thank you, the vice deputy mayor.
Nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mayette.
Coldest night of the year was a great success. I want to thank everybody who participated, everybody who contributed, businesses that supported us, Queens for putting on the food. It was just a tremendous success. We were able to, and my wife, who was the chair, Melinda Mayette, we were able to surpass our goal by 250%. It's been a tremendous success, and it just goes to show that Saugeen Shores is a very caring and generous community. We've shown it over and over again, and this is just another example of that. Thanks, everybody.
Congratulations to you, and pass along our thanks to the entire team who organized that. Councillor Duhaime.
Yeah, just want to thank all the public works staff. I know we've had a mild winter, but there have been some pretty bad storms, and everyone's been doing a really good job keeping the roads and sidewalks plowed for everyone in the community. That's all.
Thank you. So we'll go to Councillor Grace.
I have nothing tonight. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dubinsky.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just one thing. Friday night, 8:30, the Plex. We are behind. We are behind. We beating the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks 2-0 to Ripley as the Battle of the Bruce continues. And we need a win. That means we need lots of support. So make sure you show up on Friday, 8:30 at the Plex. Thank you.
Then shivers up my spine. Councillor Halpin.
Nothing to report tonight. Thank you, sir.
Councillor Stack.
Just two quick things.
No, we can't hear you, Rachel.
Can you hear me? Okay.
We got you.
So two quick things. One, just a quick recognition to all the kids who participated in the Legion's public speaking contest. I got to judge the morning set. I think grade 1s to 3 and 4 to 6. They all did a great job. Certainly put my public speaking skills to shame. So did want to recognize them. And then I also just wanted to recognize my friend and former colleague, Carolyn Cunliffe, who managed to make it to Las Vegas and go through a craniotomy successfully, all within 7 days. So just wanted to give her a little public shout out as well. That's it.
Good. Well, thanks for doing that. In a busy couple of weeks, was at the CNA all of last week, and we will have a report coming later with some of the delegations we made there. So I'll leave that for now. Although I do want to say and follow up to Councillor Dubinsky's comment that while I was at the CNA, the games were ongoing between the Winterhawks and Ripley, and we were there, and Mayor Don Murray of Huron-Kinloss was there, and he and I got talking, and we decided that both of us were going to win. And so in the event, when the Saugeen Shores Winterhawks win the competition between ourselves and Ripley, Mayor Murray will be wearing a Winterhawks jersey to a council meeting down there in Huron-Kinloss. And since we're not going to lose, I'm not going to have to worry about wearing the Ripley jersey here. Yeah, Councillor Mayette.
Thank you. I have one addendum to my earlier, and that is the Bruce County Playhouse has got a show coming on this week, March 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Not to take away from the importance of attending the Winterhawks game on Friday night, but anybody who's listening who may be inclined to see live comedy performance, this one is supposed to be hilarious. Myself and my wife are attending on Wednesday night, and I hope everybody gives it due consideration and give them, the Bruce County Playhouse performers and organizers, the support that they really, really need. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the Committee of the Whole, and I have a resolution that this Committee of the Whole meeting of February 27, 2023 hereby adjourns at 7:48 p.m. as remover and seconder. Moved by Duhaime, seconded by Halpin. All in favor. Committee stands adjourned, and council will convene at 8 p.m. All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to reconvene with regular council. And the second item on the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest. Ask any member if you have one of those you'd like to declare. Seeing none, of course, you can do that anytime if you need to. We have no additions or deletions or amendments to the agenda. We have no public meetings. We're on to adoption of the minutes, and we have two sets of minutes there. And I have a resolution that council adopt the minutes of the council meeting of February 13th, 2023, and note and file the minutes of the committee of the whole meeting of February 13th, 2023 as presented. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Councilor Myatt, seconded by the Vice Deputy Mayor. Any questions or comments to those minutes? Seeing none, then all in favor. That's carried. Okay, now we're on to reports of the committee of the whole, and I have a resolution. Sorry, let me scroll down here. I have a resolution that council received the Roma 2023 delegation package briefs for information. That council received the Town of Saugeen Shores 2022 annual report for information. And that council received this year-end building department report for information. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Davinsky. Any questions or comments to that resolution? Deputy Mayor?
It's really just a comment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Number 3 on the list is about the building department report, and just wanted to make a comment. The new app that's out related to building permits. I am the least technical person, I'm sure, sitting around this table, and even I've had some fun with it. So, certainly the report hinted at activity. If you go into the app, you can see a lot of activity over a lot of years, and it's kind of fun to look at. So just take that back, Mike. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Myatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just with regards to the Roma delegation packages, I want to thank you and the clerk for getting the resolution that was passed in 2020 or 2021 19 with regards to the crossing, the rail trail crossing on Highway 21, and the fact that the direction from council at that time was to remove the recommendation for the 60-kilometer-an-hour speed limit change. So I want to thank you for that and note that correction to the delegation package. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I was going to raise that myself. I want to apologize to you, Councilor, for the exchange we had last time. You were right and I was wrong. That had been removed. And I also want to note to council that our goal when we present these delegations to Roma is to present council's positions council has actually taken, and of course the buck stops with me to make sure that happens. It didn't happen in this case, so apologize to council for having made that error, and we will that conversation will come back to council because there is a bit of a live discussion at council. So we will bring the discussion back at some point in the future so that we can get a clear position from this council on what our attitudes are towards safety features between Port Elgin and Southampton, so that our advocacy going forward can reflect council's positions. So are there any further questions or comments with regard to that? I don't see any. So you've heard the resolution. I'll ask all in favor. And that's carried. Okay, so now we're on to the item 2, which is a planning report from February 21st, and there is a resolution that zoning bylaw amendment application Z 2022-095 for the site described as concession for part lots 10 and 11 Saugeen Township be approved, and that the necessary bylaw attached here to be forwarded to council for adoption, and 2, that the site plan for the Southampton Care Center report be received for information. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by the Vice Deputy Mayor. Any questions or comments of the resolution? The Deputy Mayor.
I had asked about this earlier today, Mr. Mayor, but just for clarification, the zoning bylaw amendment will be back at the next council meeting for final approval or for approval. So this is just us receiving this, or are we actually passing the bylaw?
resolution is that the amendment be forwarded to council for adoption. So all we're doing is approving the committee of the whole recommendation. It's kind of a strange thing now that you mention it. But no, we are not approving the bylaw at this moment. We're just approving the committee of the whole report. Anything further? Councilor Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And just on that, and I relate this back to the conversation we had previously at Committee of the Whole with regards to the Denny's Dam development. This would be the point where if somebody raised an objection or an appeal, that either of these, which are in and of themselves great developments and great recommendations, if somebody wanted to raise an appeal, they could slow one of these down through the appeal process. Is that?
I think it's worth noting that Bill 23 has changed the appeal process significantly with regard to all sorts of planning applications. I think so. In this case, nothing has been approved yet, and we're not approving anything tonight, so there's nothing to appeal. Appeal wouldn't be possible until council had actually appealed the bylaw. In terms of site plans, I'm not sure they are appealable. But I think probably once Bill 23 has settled a little bit and our planners have had a chance to understand more fully where that lands, probably a new primer for council on what is appealable and how the process works now is probably in order, but I think we want to give them a bit of time because even the planners are still trying to digest it. Are there any other questions on the resolution? Seeing none, then all in favor. That's carried. Okay, so now we're on to reports of municipal officers and committees, and you'll see there a striking committee report on Heritage Committee appointment replacement, and there is a resolution that the resignation of Elizabeth Kuntz be accepted and that Neil Minaj be appointed to the Municipal Heritage Committee. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Grace. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And then item 2 there is a staff report on the Westario Power Incorporated Board of Directors appointment, and there is a recommendation or resolution, I should say, that council hereby endorses the following as the appointed directors to the Westario Power Incorporated Board of Directors: George Bridge, Chris Peabody, Sue Patterson, Robert Buckle, Tim Lavoy, Mike Hitchenberger, Luke Charbonneau, Paul Heffer, and Don Murray. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Stack, seconded by Halpin. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. And then we're on to a closed public session, and I have a resolution here. The council move into closed public session to discuss matters in accordance with the Municipal Act 2001, Section 2392B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, Section 2392F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose relative to seeking direction from council on how to proceed on the matter, and to approve the closed public meeting minutes from the previous meeting. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Stack, seconded by Grace. All in favor? That is carried. We'll move into closed, and we're moving to a different Zoom link for that meeting. See you, Mark. Okay, very good. We're going to arise from closed and I will report in open that council approved the closed minutes of February the 13th and that council received advice, the subject is solicitor client privilege and gave direction to staff on that same item. So now we're on then to the confirmatory bylaw, and I have a resolution that bylaw 15/2023 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the town of Saugeen Shores is hereby read the first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 27th day of February 2023. Is the remover and seconder? Moved by Grace, seconded by Davinsky. All in favor? That's carried. And finally, I have a resolution that this regular council meeting of February 27, 2023 hereby adjourns at 9:22 PM. Is there a mover and seconder? Moved by Stack, seconded by Halpin. All in favor?